Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to the life of a virtual cargo pilot. You may recall on our last flight we flew to, I think it was Phoenix. We either flew to Phoenix from Memphis or to Memphis from Phoenix. I don't know, we've kind of been bouncing all over the place. And we picked up a fresh charter, and Amazon Prime flew us out to Europe to do some flights for them on their 767. And so that's what we were doing last night. What you're looking at right now is actually our 767 freighter being towed off the runway at Charles de Gaulle Airport, or LFPG. And the reason for that was a engine malfunction in flight during a routine charter flight from Milan to London last night. Now, I wasn't recording that flight, unfortunately. It was just a flight for fun. But we're going to record the departure today. So what you're looking at now is actually our aircraft being towed back to the blast pad where we started. The maintenance personnel have gone over the aircraft. They've looked at the engine extensively, and they report that there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm not sure how the flight's going to go. It's not very long, but what we experienced yesterday at first seemed like a compressor stall on the #2 engine. But I don't know that that would really describe it, because if we got zero warnings in the aircraft, and the aircraft N1 and N2 were both fluctuating rather wildly. The engine was shut down during flight, and after an adequate amount of time to hopefully allow the engine, I don't know, to rest or something, we did a restart on the engine in flight. It did not resolve the issue, and so we diverted to LFPG for safety reasons. So we landed here safely last night. As you saw, we were towed off the runway, and we are now being towed from the maintenance area back over to that same blast pad we were towed off onto last night, where we will climb up in the flight deck, and we will continue the flight on to London. So there's your rather long introduction to what we're doing here. Hopefully all goes well. The mechanic said they haven't had to do anything with the aircraft, so we'll see if we have any issues. Alrighty folks, after an extensive tug movement over to this blast pad, we are just about ready to go. We're double checking the cargo there. They're setting our fuel where we need it. We've got the ground power hooked up. Let's take a quick look at our flight plan for the day. It's very short. It's Charles de Gaulle out to Heathrow. It's only 185 nautical miles through the air. Block fuel is going to be 22,181 pounds. Same amount of cargo as we had on the way over here, 94,900 pounds for a total payload of 95,300 pounds. Should be pretty straightforward stuff. So we're in position, ready to go. Let's climb up in the flight deck and let's get this flight started. Alrighty folks, welcome to the flight deck. Now normally we don't do a cold and dark start in our aircraft anymore. I just completed a full flight tutorial on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start going through stuff, and I just want to talk a little bit about something that's kind of on my mind a little bit right now, and it has to do with the difference between Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane. So I know that a lot of you who watch my channel are Microsoft Flight Simulator fans, and I've been a Microsoft Flight Simulator guy for just absolute years. You know, X-Plane, I've mentioned before, is relatively new to me. I've had it for a long time, but I haven't really made use of it. and so it's sort of recent for me. But I'm discovering that there are some great aircraft on X-Plane, this 767 being a great example of that. It's a really well put together airplane. I wasn't a huge fan of FlightFactor's 777, at least version 1. Apparently there's a plan in place for a version 2, and that's supposed to be pretty good. My issue with that, of course, is that, you know, in my opinion, your first payware aircraft that you release should have been on point anyway, especially at the price point. It's not like these things are cheap, right? We're flight number, oh, gotta clear that out. This is Millennium, no, not Millennium, this is Mirage. That's Mac Air's partner virtual airline, if you weren't aware. It's gonna be flight 116. Anyway, my point is that you know, you release that aircraft at a price point, and not a low price point by any means, but it really wasn't quite a complete aircraft, and I just don't think that's the right way to go. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of that. Now, that being said, this aircraft is pretty solid. I really like this aircraft. I haven't spent a lot of time in the 400 model yet, but if it's, you know, if it's anything like this 300 model, I think it's really, really good. So, with all that in mind, what I want to talk to you guys about is, and sometimes it's hard for me to talk and focus on the things I have to do here. I want to talk to you about considering X-Plane, and let me tell you why. Listen, I like Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm not complaining about it. There are things that I think could be better, but overall, I like Microsoft Flight Simulator. My issue is this. They haven't cornered the market in the way that some folks think they have. Yes, it is different, the interface and all of that. I'm just checking my altitude here. The interface and stuff is different, and it is a learning curve. But X-Plane is a good program, and I'm not getting paid to say that or anything. It's a good program. The flight dynamics are definitely better. X-Plane has always prided itself on proper flight dynamics first and scenery second. Now, for your casual flight sim enthusiast, that can be a bit of an issue because we really like our scenery. We want it to look nice. We want it to look realistic. And so that's where I think we have the biggest disconnect between Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane 11. With that in mind, X-Plane 12 is about to release, and X-Plane 12 is looking absolutely fantastic. It looks like the visuals in X-Plane 12 are going to be on par with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Whether or not that holds out to be entirely true, I can't say for certain right now, because we've only seen a few little sort of promo video clips, right? Even with that in mind, there are a lot of ways to make X-Plane look really, really good for free. Now, it does take, you know, we're talking about, what do you call it? It's mesh data or something like that. And it does take a toll on your hard drive space. Let's listen to the ATIS real quick.
Nation Delta, 1200 Zulu weather. Wind 170 at 7, variable 130 to 220, visibility more than 10. Altimeter 2985. Arriving runways 27 right, 27 left, departing runways 27 left, 26 right.
Okay, fantastic. So anyway, the visual quality of X-Plane 12 looks like it's going to really be on par with the visual quality of Microsoft Flight Simulator, the newest version 2020. With that in mind, even if it's not, we're going to take 27 left. It's free to make it look really good. Now, granted, it can take up quite a bit of space on your hard drive. So if you don't have the hard drive space for it, that's something to consider as well. But I also want to talk about the price point really quick. X-Plane 12 is going to release for the same price that X-Plane 11 released for, which is $60. Now, you can get Microsoft Flight Simulator, I think, for the same price. I think $60. But that's for like the base version. It doesn't give you everything, right? Which I totally disagree with. Whereas with X-Plane 12 at $60, you are going to get everything. We should be fully loaded now. So you can just click here for your gross weight. The reserves are going to be 10. So you get everything for 60 bucks. That's what you get. Now, another thing I like is the part of the reason I've purchased this aircraft is because FlightFactor gives a free update. Well, that's what I'm scheduled for, 350. You know, let's put it 300. I have a feeling that'll work better. Unable cruise altitude. Well, we're going to make it work. 300. You get a free upgrade to the X-Plane 12 version when it releases with this aircraft, and I think that's absolutely tremendous. I think that's the way it should be, to be honest with you. So for those of you who are Microsoft Flight Simulator fans, and I am as well, especially the new one, I think they've done a great job with it. I think it looks really good. I don't want you to, a lot of you might not want to watch these X-Plane videos because you think to yourself, well, I don't even fly X-Plane. I just want you to think about it. Now, I'm not saying run out and buy X-Plane. That's not what I'm saying you need to do here. What I am saying is don't discount what we're doing here in X-Plane because you're only familiar with Microsoft Flight Simulator. We need to wait on the IRS alignment at this point. What did we say it was? It was 2985. I don't know if I mentioned this in the 6.5, if in the full flight tutorial, but you have to adjust both of these two separately. Otherwise, you'll get that. That's why I was getting that warning in my full flight video that the altitudes disagreed. Anyway, my point is that not only can you learn a lot from what we're doing here in the X-Plane videos, but which can carry over to Microsoft Flight Simulator. For example, if somebody makes a good 767, the procedures should be the same regardless of which flight simulator you're using. But if you're looking for more realistic flight dynamics or some more options, for example, that Better Pushback in X-Plane is an amazing program. There's a lot of great programs here in X-Plane. This AviTab, for example, is this tablet that's got, it's basically an EFB for any aircraft you're flying. I mean, think about that. And this is absolutely free. In fact, there's a lot of great programs for X-Plane 11 that should be available in X-Plane 12 as well that are absolutely free. So my whole point, oh, those aren't going to work until our IRS is aligned. My whole point in bringing all of that up, I'm going to turn these off as well until IRS alignment is complete, is that I know that a lot of you are Microsoft Flight Simulator fans. Just consider that X-Plane has great potential. It really is a great flight simulator. While the scenery in the new Microsoft Flight Simulator is absolutely better, right now the X-Plane 12 looks like it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Keep in mind there's going to be a learning curve between the graphic user interface for Flight Simulator and X-Plane. That's been the biggest thing for me, is the learning curve for the differences in how you interact with the flight sim. But even with those differences, it's not that difficult to learn it, and once you learn it, I'm telling you, I'm liking it more and more and more, and I'm wanting to spend more time in X-Plane. So we're definitely going to see more X-Plane videos on the channel, and we may even transition our cargo series to 100% X-Plane, only because the cargo aircraft that I have available in X-Plane are substantially better than the cargo aircraft that are currently available in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And that's a big deal because the purpose of this channel has always been entertainment, but it's been an entertainment mixed with a nice healthy dose of education, right? The point is to learn about these aircraft and learn about flight procedures while we have a good time doing it. And we can't do that when we have aircraft like the latest 777 release for Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is appalling. There's not much to learn from an aircraft that has very little to interact with. It might as well be a default aircraft that you paid money for, and that's just the truth of it. So we're going to spend more time in X-Plane. I hope that you guys are enjoying these videos, and I hope that you'll consider the potential of this flight simulator. My rudder pedals are going nuts down there. I hope you'll consider the potential of this flight simulator and take these videos for what they are. They're an opportunity to spend time in a very well done aircraft, and that's what I like to do in flight sim. I like to spend my time in aircraft that are as close to realistic as possible. It just makes it so much more enjoyable for me. So I hope that you guys are enjoying it. We're going to press on here. I'm going to finish getting pre-flight done, and then we're going to start engines and get out of here. Alrighty folks, we're ready to fire up the engines here. Let's just jump up top. We'll put the packs off really quick, and we're going to be starting with engine number 1. Roll this bad boy over to ground. Here, let's put our wing lights on before we do that. Roll this over to ground and then back down here, and we are looking for 15 on the N2 down here. As soon as we get to 15, we'll go ahead and introduce the fuel, And there it is, 15. Bring that in. And while that's spinning up, let's just take a look at our checklist here really quick. Back down here. So engine start, secondary engine indications, that's this down here. Pack control selectors are off. Left engine start selector to ground. 15% N2, and then fuel control switch to run. And then we wait for idle, and then we repeat the process for engine number 2. So with all of that done, we're going to go ahead and let engine number 1 finish starting up. Then I'll start engine number 2, and then we'll come back on here and we will taxi. While I'm thinking about it real quick, let me just close this out because this is going to be just a minute anyway. Let me bring this bad boy over here, if I can get it centered where I want it. There we go. Taking a look at our Navigraph charts in conjunction with our Sim Toolkit Pro. We are going to be taking runway 27 left. That's this guy down here. ATIS on 27.130. Pre-flight, we've already done that. There's your ground frequencies, tower frequencies, and so on. And we are obviously right here at the blast pad. We got towed back over here. So we're going to taxi over here. We're going to get onto Delta, and we're going to take Delta down here, and then this turns into Quebec. And it's kind of a crazy taxi here, but we're going to take that all the way down here to Quebec 4, and that's where we're going to hold short of runway 27 left. And then looking at our departure, wow, that was zoomed way in. Not even sure how that happened. Here's our departure though, runway 27 left out to PG 270, 276, and then we're transitioning off at Opal, probably Opal is probably what it is. Airport elevations 392 feet, transition altitude 5,000 feet. We'll double check, make sure that's set properly. Other than that, you know, we have our max 250 knots below 10,000 feet. And then that's pretty much good to go there. So let's get this back out of the way really quick. Let's double check our transition altitude by going to our climb page, right? Yep, transition altitude 5,000 feet. And then we'll just double check all of our performance here. We're good there. Takeoff page, we're looking at 148 for V2. I'm going to start engine number 2, and then we're going to pull out. Alrighty, that's 2 good engine starts. Let me get the track IR on here. There we go. Not even a little jump on that one. Let's go ahead and I don't know why it should, the APU gen like flipped off automatically, or I don't know, maybe I forgot to turn it on. That happens sometimes. Get the packs on. These 2 isolation valves can go. That's not what, that's the bleed. That's the isolation valve. Those can go off right there. Center one stays on. APU bleed can go off. APU can go off at this point. Not really sure why it shows. So it's kind of weird. It shows the gen off, but I think the gen was on because I never got a warning saying the APU gen was off and I didn't lose any power. So I think it's a glitch, to be honest with you. But we'll turn the APU off at this point. Let's take a quick look at our checklist. One thing I like is I can just look over here and click on that. The only thing I don't like is it always goes back to the general page. But if you click on checklist, it goes to the page that the last checklist page you were on. So any ice switches are off, and then you see it checks them off automatically. So left, right isolations off, APU bleed air is off. Status display, it'll check off automatically as soon as you switch over to that. There you go. We can do our flight controls check while we're here. So full left, full right, and neutral, and then all the way up, all the way down, neutral, and then the rudder's full left and full right and neutral. We do need to set the flaps to 15. That's 1, that's 5, and that's 15. If you wonder about the flaps, there's your flap indicator there, and then of course you can always look over here at your numbers as well. So flap lever set, transponders check. We haven't hit the traffic button on here yet. There we go, traffic button right there. Let's put this on map, maybe. There we go. We'll zoom it out one as well. Taxi light can come on at this point. We do have taxi clearance. There we go. Taxi light is on, and then we don't need the logo light, and that'll take us to our before takeoff checklist. So let's go ahead and get those parking brakes off. I do really enjoy the engine sounds. I think some folks don't, but to me they sound pretty solid. Let's put this back on the engines page there, and let's just bring in a little bit of thrust here. So it is going to be an interesting taxi out of here, trying to get where we want to go. We're not heavy at all. So that should have been the power, just like switching back over to, yeah, see the APU gen was like on, but both the bus ties went off for some reason. That was interesting. I wonder why the bus ties went off. Oh, I hope we don't have issues on this flight. So there is a maintenance option on this, just so you know. But I have chosen to ignore the maintenance option because I was kind of bummed I wasn't recording last night when we ran into that error. I'm going to go right down here to Delta. And so I thought, okay, well, we're just going to leave it as is, and we're gonna see how it goes. And if we if we get another error in flight, then we'll deal with it on this flight. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna taxi out. You guys know the drill. I'll probably show you just a little bit of cinematic here, and then I'll be back on here when we're holding short of the runway. Alrighty folks, just pulling up to the old short line here at the end of the runway. Let's take a quick look at our before takeoff checklist here. I do love that I can pull this up and look at it like this. So taxi light switch will need to go off. Runway turn off lights can stay off. We don't need those right now. Auto brakes are already set to RTO. Let's see. Taxi lights off, landing lights on. We're good there. I don't see any traffic inbound. I don't see anything over there. There is AI traffic in here. We'll put the auto spoilers on. Not sure if that's a requirement in this one or not. I know that with the 737 it's not anymore, and I don't know if that was a change they made at some point or if we were just always doing it wrong or what. I do know that this this landing strip, or this runway, there we go, that's the word I was looking for. I do know that this runway has a displaced threshold. We're not doing a derated takeoff on this. We're going to do a full takeoff. We want to put that engine to work and see what it's going to do. So that's why I decided to go ahead and just enter at the threshold here. That RAS program is free. Just another example of one of the things I like about X-Plane. Good programs, good add-on programs that are free, and they're really good. Not saying that there aren't good ones for Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's some great folks out there doing some amazing developments. The fly-by-wire A320 is just one great example of that. They're working on an A380 now as well, so there's some amazing stuff out there. But I'm just pointing out that X-Plane is not a bad simulator if you're only familiar with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Consider the possibilities here. It's a great flight simulator. So we've got a lot of runway to work with here. There's still 11,000 feet of runway, give or take a little bit. So let's go ahead and bring in just a little more thrust. We'll just start her rolling here.
On runway 27 left.
Okay, go ahead and get those to stabilize around 60%. We are using the Pratt & Whitney engines on this particular model. There, she's stabilizing nicely, and toga. Right, airspeed is alive. All indications look normal so far. Let's see if that stands throughout the flight. We're going to do a quick climb so that we can get to our cruise altitude, even though it's a short flight. Coming up on V1. There it is. And rotate. And that's from that right rudder coming in there. Positive rate of climb gear coming up. Nice. You see, she wants to climb. I mean, this airplane wants to climb, so we are not going to climb more than 20 degrees nose up. We will go ahead and take out that first setting of flaps, so put it to flaps 5 there. There's our thrust reduction. You see, that's why I didn't want to climb any higher than we were climbing, or any faster than we were climbing. See, that nose needs to start coming back down now. There we go. That's about where we want to be. Just a little bit of trim, so I'm not holding that the whole time. Come on. Trim up, baby. Trim up. Trim up. There we go. Now she's trimming up. You can tell when it's trimming up because you can let off the pressure on the yoke. Now go ahead and go to flaps 1 here. Trim that nose back down just a hair, and then you start to lose the lift. See, that's where the flight dynamics are far more realistic in this flight simulator. I haven't noticed a loss of lift as you bring your flaps up so much in most of the aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It does happen in some of them. Some of them have done a good job with it, but most of them, I don't notice that loss of lift. Flaps coming all the way up. Auto brakes are off. We can go ahead and start bringing that nose up just a little bit there. Go ahead and unarm the speed brakes now. Let's go ahead and put the auto flight on, or the autopilot. That's the word I'm looking for. Can't seem to find the words today. Okay, and then let's grab our checklist here. Let's take a look at our after takeoff checklist. There we go. So that was before takeoff. After takeoff checklist, or climb and cruise. TCMP, that's talking about this right here. So that should be in the climb mode. If it's not, click on that button there. So that's good. Weather radar, let's go ahead and turn that on. It does work in this aircraft. So there's weather radar there. Turn it on the map mode, and that lets us know right there, auto and map, that it's doing its thing. So weather radar is on. Landing lights will stay on until we get above 10,000 feet. So we're just going to leave that alone right there. No smoking vest, seatbelt signs will stay on. That's fine. And we'll monitor the fuel flows. Then once we get above 6,000 feet here, which we're almost there, we'll go ahead and we'll take care of the altimeters, because that is our transition altitude. So I'm just going to go ahead and start taking care of that now, because that's actually going to make the altitude higher. 9 or 9 or 2. There we go. 3, 2. And again, you got to do it on both of these. They're not synced up with each other. Oh man, that's... There we go. 2, 9 or 9 or 2. And get the track IR off. That takes care of our after takeoff checklist, and that means, ladies and gentlemen, you guessed it, it is time once again for some obligatory elevator music. Alrighty folks, so we just hit the top of climb here. I went ahead and adjusted to 28,000 feet, and you can see we're 13 nautical miles from top of descent. So we're going to go ahead and crank this bad boy down. Maybe freeze up there for a second. 7,000 feet, just so that the VNAV does its job here. There we go, 7,000 feet. And let's start taking a look at our descent procedures and so on and so forth. So go to checklist here. Climb, cruise. So here's our descent. Landing altitude is set. That's talking about this guy up here. If I can get to it, that's talking about this right here. That's been set. ICAS message. We need to hit the recall button here. Recall. Nothing on there. Arrival is installed in the FMS. We're going to brief that here in a minute. Radios, we haven't tuned those yet. So let me just show you real quick. If you jump back here, you can tune the. You need to tune the ILS into this particular radio right here. So if I just jump to the chart over here, it's 109.5, and you have to get the bottom one first, or it doesn't do anything. So 109, and then 50 on here, and the final approach course is going to be 269 degrees. So we'll set that on here, and then we'll just leave her B for now. So there's 269 there, and then we can come back up here. Let's finish up our checklist really quick. So that is set. Landing flaps we haven't selected in the FMS yet. That's your initial reference page. We're looking at, what are we doing? I think 27 left, and that is 12,000 feet of runway. So I don't think we're going to have any issues with our landing distance there. So we're going to go flaps 25, 148 on that. That'll work out just fine. You can see the ILS is now tuned in there. 109.50. Landing flaps are set. VREF is set. Decision height is going to be, where are we at? 100 feet for a Cat 2. Cat 1 is 200 feet. And so that's this little bug right here. And you set it with this guy. So we're just going to set that to 200 feet. Okay, man, there we go, 200 feet, that's set, and then we're not going to use any auto brake. I don't think we need it. And you can see that we're already on the descent, and then our next checklist will be our approach checklist. So with that in mind, while we're descending, let's take a look at our arrival and our approach briefings. We're actually not on the arrival yet. It was that short of a flight. The arrival is going to be the Alesso 1H. I don't know how you say it, but there you have it, Alesso 1H. ATIS 128.080 is what I've tuned in. We'll see if that gives us an what's the word I'm looking for? An ATIS brief. However, I've pulled a METAR down here using Sim Toolkit Pro, which does tend to be pretty close to what's actually in the X-Plane Sim. And so on this one, we're looking at the wind 150 at 4 knots. With that in mind, I could really be either runway, but I think 27 is going to work out fine for us. So that's what I've chosen for now. It might give us a little tailwind, but I think it'll be fine. So we're coming in out here to Alesso, then to Rotno, 18,000 at EDVAX, then Tiger, max 250 down here at LLE01, and then down to Big. We need to be 220 knots, 7,000 feet. We'll check the FMC for that. That is a hard altitude, so we need to try and make sure we're set there. Going over to our ILS here, just zoom this in for you. So again, we took 28.080 for the ATIS. Heathrow approach is 19.7, tower on 18.505. That's 19.730 on that. There's your ground frequencies. Localizer frequency 109.5. Final approach course 269 degrees. Glide slope intercept at 2,500 feet, which is 7.5 nautical miles from ILL. We'll look at minimums down below. Missed approach, climb straight ahead when passing 1,080 feet, or when you're crossing over ILL, whichever is later. Climbing left turn on track 147 to 2,000 feet, and when passing 6 from London, climb without delay to 3,000 minutes directed. So a little bit going on there. We'll need to keep that in mind. Transition altitude 6,000 feet. We need to check that as well. You can see here's our feathers here, 269 degrees. There's 7.5 from ILL. That is our missed approach point, and that is also our glide slope intercept point. So on in from there, PAPI lights on the left hand side. We got some bright lights coming in, and then we're just a normal Cat 1, so 200 feet. The weather should be pretty good. Again, looking at this METAR, you look at nope, that's the wrong one. This is visibility 99.99, so that means unlimited visibility, so we should be just fine. Some broken clouds at 3,900 feet shouldn't be too difficult to deal with. So with that stuff said, let's take a look in our FMC really quick, just make sure that we are properly set up for this arrival and approach. Jumping down here, go to your legs page really quick, and let's see, at Big we're supposed to be at 7,000 feet, max 220 knots. This shows us flight level 078 and 180 knots. So we're off on that. Now I've had an issue here. I think it doesn't let me just set an altitude. Well, it did that time. Maybe it was just the flight plan I was on yesterday. So, and then I don't know why it's, this is the inbound course from Big to CI 27 left. So that's our initial approach fix there. And that wants us at 3,000 feet. That works out well because our glide slope intercept was 2,500 feet, which is going to be this guy right here. So I'm actually okay with what we got there. We are going to cross Big at 7,000, and then it's just going to start descending from there. And I'm good with 180 knots. So with all that said, I think we're good to go. We're going to continue on the descent, and I'll come back on here with you when we're on the approach. I don't know how accurate that is. I cannot pick up the ATIS. So I'm also having a little bit of an issue with my auto throttles here. Let's try and kick them on again and see what happens here. We're going to be on the approach here in no time. It says altitude disagree, but they're awfully close, unless it's talking about this one over here, which it may be. Yeah, that one's still on, so let's put that one at 1008. Come on. There we go. And they should agree now. Let's go ahead and get that first setting of flaps coming in. Are the auto throttles working? They don't seem to be. Yeah, they are. They're fine. Okay. So just having a little bit of issue with the throttles. Not really sure what's going on with that. With the auto throttles anyway. Let's bring this to 185 now. And let's get that next setting of flaps coming in. And so we're looking for 158 as our approach speed. And you can see that we have picked up the ILS now. There's our glide slope indicator. There's our localizer indicator. Let's go ahead and pop up our checklist here really quick. Bring this up. So approach, no smoking fast, seatbelt signs is on. It is on, right? I guess they want it like all the way on. Wing and landing lights are on. Altimeters are set. And arrival and approach is updated in the FMC, and then that would take us to our after landing checklist. So we're coming up on 2,500 feet here. We're settling in nicely. Our speed's just a little higher than I want it to be right now, but overall we're looking pretty solid here. So you can see we're just about to intercept. There it is right there, coming to that localizer course. Let's grab that. You can see there it is. Grab the localizer right away, and we'll go ahead and arm the approach switch next. And there it is, glide slope right there. Fantastic. I'm used to, I think, seeing the VNAV path over here and the localizer or LNAV path over here. But either way, so we're just waiting now to intercept that glide slope. We've intercepted the localizer now, so we're looking good here. And we are at flaps 5, so we'll go to flaps 15. That'll leave us 2 flap settings. I did go ahead and lower the engine sounds on the flight deck because I played back a couple of the video clips and it seemed like it was maybe a little hard to hear me. And I'm trying not to talk super loud. So FMC message, check altitude target. It is good, trust me. And glide slope intercept. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and drop the landing gear. And arm the speed brakes or spoilers. There's that landing gear coming down. Fantastic. Let's bring the speed down to 168. And bring in flaps 20. And we can't, it's a little sort of, I don't know what the word is. Not, I don't know, that's not really fog, I don't think. Is it kind of smoggy out, perhaps, or misty? Either way, I can't really see the airfield quite yet. Speed's coming down nicely, just settling down here, and we'll go ahead and we'll drop to flaps 25, and that gives us our VREF plus 10. Now we'll go down 5 more, so 163, and that'll put us at VREF plus 5. Let her just settle in a little bit here. This is the view that I chose. I wanted to be a little higher instead of like way down here. I like to be able to see. I got adjusted my seat now. Okay, so you can see land 3 is illuminated on here. It will auto land. We're not going to do that. I have been getting a little choppiness coming in here. I'm not really sure why. That's one thing about X-Plane that I really like, is it was 64-bit a long time ago. There's the runway right there. And so it's just overall it runs better. 1,000. Yeah, pick it off. There we go. Oh, now that's one thing. I don't have a weather program or anything like that, so the weather sort of jumps in and out a lot of times. Crank that back there, and let's bring those throttles back. There we go. Alright, so we're just a little bit high here. Let's go ahead and bring that nose over just a little. Bring back in a little bit of thrust here.
Approaching 27 left.
Just a little slow. That's alright though. Trim that just a little bit. Remember, trim for speed, not for altitude. Still need that nose to come down just a wee bit more. Tons of runway to work with here though. Tons of runway to work with. So we're looking good. Like I said, we're just a little bit high here. So I'm just rolling those throttles back. There we go. We're gonna come a little long. That's okay though.
Minimums.
Continue. Yeah, we're gonna be a little long, but I'm not too worried about it. We'll just continue this.
100. 50. 40. 30.
Oh, a little hard there.
Long landing.
20.
Long landing. 8,000 feet
10.
remaining. 7,000 remaining.
I just pulled a little hard.
6,000 remaining.
I know, we're good, we're good. There we go.
5,000 remaining. 4,000 remaining.
Yeah, a little long on the landing there. Just a wee bit. That's alright though, we're good. I should have probably gone around, but I don't have time to go around this morning, to be honest with you. Okay, so we're going to go all the way to the end here. Just waiting for those reverse thrusters to kick back off now. There we go. So I'll go all the way to the end here, and then I'm going to back taxi on, what taxiway is this? Sierra. So we'll take Sierra up here. Alright, yeah, definitely a long landing. My bad. Start the APU there. Where you at? Is it not? So I should be able to go left and
100
yeah,
remaining.
There. Yeah, I know. I can see there's 100 feet remaining. I'm coming up to the end of the taxiway here. Okay, a little more brake there. We don't want to take that turn too fast. Let's go ahead and start getting flaps up here. Speed brakes off. Nope. They are now. Let's go ahead and get taxi lights on and landing lights off. And nope, that's the reds. We need the whites off. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and taxi it in, folks. And oh, APU gen off now. Let's turn it on. There we go. I'm going to taxi it in, and then I will see y'all back here when we find us a parking space. Alrighty, folks, into the cargo apron we go here. Now, you'll see the Alaska Airlines plane over there. That's probably not out here in London. I just have like aircraft static models turned on. I don't think I have. I think it's just default AI traffic in here. So yeah, just cut me off there in your little baggage cart, buddy. Don't worry about the giant airplane pulling in here. Anyway, I think it's just it's the static models and the default AI traffic. So I don't know. I haven't really looked into an AI traffic program for this sim as of yet. Do we have? I hope there's a parking space in here. We're going to be in trouble because there ain't no turning around room. I can tell you that. But see, so you see the little, you know, it looks like a Cessna 310 maybe or something over there, Cessna 410. But anyway, that probably wouldn't be there. That would be a parking space for us, right? So that's the thing with the static models or whatever. We may just have to pull down to the blast fence here and wait until we can have a tug put us into position. Oh, is there a space over there? There is, but I don't know if it's actually big enough for a 767. There is not a space over there. So we are going to do a big no-no, and we're going to park it right here, and we're going to wait for a tug. We'll just assume that we're waiting for that little prop job back there to get out of our way. It happens sometimes, right? We just pulled in a little early. Our bad. So we'll wait on a tug. It's not a big deal. We're not going to do that on camera. Let's go ahead and put the parking brake on here. There we go. Parking brake coming on. Let's make sure that weather radar is off. We can just put it to the test mode. We can put this all the way over to standby. And we've already turned the taxi lights off. We've got the APU gen on, so we should be able to shut down the engines. 1 and 2. And you should see everything flicker as the power. Yep. So when the power transitions over, it flickers. I don't know how realistic that is, but I think it's pretty cool. As usual, we did do our after landing checklist, so to speak. I mean, I went through it. I just didn't talk about it because I always forget. Taking a look at our shutdown real quick. The APU generator is on. I don't need to put that to start because we've already started it. So we're on electrical power there. Seatbelt selectors can come off. I just got to get my head out of the way here. So off and off. There we go. And then it's the center air pump switch, which is this guy, and then left electric pump, and then it should be C1, C2, this guy, this guy, this guy, and then the fuel pump switches, these guys here. And that one, the light doesn't come on because it's using it for the APU. So red anti-collision lights can go off. We can turn the wing lights off right now. Position lights, it says to turn those off as well. And then wheel chocks and all of that would actually come from here. So you go in here, go to ground, go chocks. And we're going to need a loader unit. We're going to need an AC unit. We're going to need a GPU unit. And we're going to need stairs. And then we'll worry about a fuel truck later on. That takes care of shutting down the aircraft, and that means that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. With as busy as the airports are, it's no surprise that we don't have a parking space. I know this isn't the right way to do it, but what the heck, we went with it anyway. So it was a good flight. I enjoyed it. I hope that you guys did too. As I said before, for those of you who are Microsoft Flight Simulator fans and have always been and never really looked at X-Plane, I would encourage you, if you're considering looking for something a little different, definitely take a look at it. For those of you who just flat out aren't interested, that's fine. I totally understand. We are going to continue to do some flights in this because I really am enjoying these aircraft. You know, they're different simulators, and again, we're getting a lot of realism here that we're not seeing in some of the aircraft over in Microsoft Flight Simulator right now. We will eventually, there's no doubt about that. But I'm enjoying what's available to us here, and I'm really looking forward to the X-Plane 12 release. For those of you who are X-Plane fans, I know you're looking forward to X-Plane 12 release as well, and for those of you who maybe are considering flight simulation, I would highly recommend either one, Microsoft Flight Simulator or X-Plane. If you're looking for more realism, X-Plane is certified for real-world training. Microsoft Flight Simulator is not, so that's something to consider as well. If you haven't already done so, folks, and you enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up and go ahead and smash that subscribe button. I am very grateful for all of my subscribers. You guys are absolutely fantastic, and I love you guys. That's it. That's all, and no more, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, as always, keep the blue side up, unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all, and have an absolutely wonderful day.